Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Rowden. I'm an 800-meter athlete for British Athletics, compete for Team GB. I am the current British champion and also, I think, 9th in the all-time list for the men's 800 meters. Got some great questions here to answer, so I'll just get straight into it. So question number 1 says, you're currently ranked 9th in the all-time British 800 meter rankings. How far up do you think you can progress? That's a tough question. I mean, if you know your history of the sport, we have some great runners in the 80s and things like that. Number 1 is Steve Ovech is one of only, I think, 5 men ever to break 1 minute 42 for the 800 meters, which is crazy fast. My PB at the moment is 1 minute 44. How far do I think I can progress? I think getting to the number 1 spot will be really, really tough. I think up to 4th is definitely doable. There's quite a few guys in the 143 mark. Between 143.7 and 144. So definitely I'd aim to get up to there. But getting to number 1 spot, I don't know, man, those times are crazy fast. But question 2, who was the first person to recognize that you had a talent for running? That's a good question, actually. I'd probably say the first person was probably my football coach back when I was, I don't know, like 8 years old. For those of you that don't know, I took up running when I was about 12. But before that, I played football, not to any high level or anything like that, just local teams and things. But I played centre mid and then transitioned to centre back. But I think it was my first coach that picked up when we do sprint drills and training, or when I'd be tracking a fast striker in matches and he wouldn't be able to drop me or anything like that. That's probably the first person that realised I actually had some decent wheels. But in terms of actually like running career, it's probably a guy called John Stowe, who's the one that recruited me to my current club, Woodford Green. He was at a cross-country race and saw that I was doing well, and then handed me a letter that asked me to join the club, which is how I got started into running. So definitely props to him, John Stowe. Next question: if you were able to be a professional sports person in any other sport other than athletics, who would you choose? What would you choose? I do love athletics. But I'd probably pick a team sport if I could do anything else, just for a bit of variety. And it'd probably have to be football. I do love football. I'm a Spurs fan. I follow them quite avidly. But yeah, definitely football or basketball as well. Basketball is a sport that I played for a couple of years as well and really enjoyed playing. So definitely one of those two. Has Sebco or Steve Ovett played some role in inspiration when you were younger? Yeah, definitely. I first heard about them properly when I was in year 7 or 8. Our secondary school deputy head did an assembly and talked about the kind of the Sebco Steve Ovett rivalry. And it was definitely very captivating. And then from then I looked at the times and I looked up what these guys had done. And it was definitely very inspiring, because I think as a kid growing up and watching the sport, especially as an 800 meter runner, it was kind of dominated by East Africans, by the Kenyans, running these crazy fast times. But then to see that Sebco, Steve Ovett, being British, were able to compete at such a high level, and especially Sebco being able to run the crazy fast times he could do, definitely gave me belief that I know I could definitely do this too. Question 5, it says, in those couple of seconds before the starter gun goes off, what's the last thing that goes through your mind? I get very, very nervous before races. So in the 2 hours before a race, I get incredibly nervous. I don't eat much in that time, because if I did, I'd probably throw it all up again. Every time I get to a track, I have to sit in silence for a good half hour, just collecting my thoughts, getting myself ready to go, ready to race. But actually, in the few seconds before the gun goes off, usually I'm in a great state of mind. If I've done my preparation well, I get all the nerves, I work through the nerves, battle through them. By the time I stand on that start line, I'm usually good to go. And in my head, I'm just thinking, just do your best, Daniel. You prepared well, you've done all you need to do. Now's the time you get to almost kind of show off. You've done all the hard work, but now's the time you get to, I don't know, show the world what you can do. So yeah, definitely a lot of feelings of confidence, of just ready to get out there. Says, what are your thoughts on how you have done if Tokyo was in 2020? I assume that means the Olympics. Or do you feel another year will help? That's really hard to say. I mean, 2020 for me was a crazy year. Got my first British title. I think I ended the year being ranked with the third fastest time in the world, which definitely for me was crazy. But I know a lot of that was to do with coronavirus and the fact that some of the top athletes weren't running. So it was really hard to ascertain kind of how I'd have done at the Olympics. I think I'd have been able to make the final. How much damage I'd have been able to do in the final, who knows? But definitely having another year of growth, of time under my coach, of development, of confidence will definitely help me going into the 2021 season. Next question says, Olympic medal or British 800-meter record? That is a tough one because the 800-meter record is crazy fast, 1:41.73 from Sebco. Which, if I ran that, I'd probably have an Olympic medal as well. That's not how the question goes. As much as a British record is special, I still have to go with an Olympic medal, I think, just because the Olympics is just the pinnacle of our sport. Yeah, it's like the end goal. Most kids dream of going to the Olympics. Question 8 says, how important is your Christian faith when competing? Well, for me, it's huge, not just when competing, but just the whole of my life. Athletics to me is important, but and relationships, friendships, romance, all that stuff's important. But for me, my faith, my relationship with God is number one and will always be number one. So yeah, it's huge. It's the reason what I believe for my existence. It forms the basis for what I want to do with each day and what I do want to do with my life. Gives me a purpose for life, all sorts of these things. So definitely hugely important. Number 9, favorite track session and hardest track session. My favorite track session will probably be some kind of fast time trial session in the summer. Nothing long. Anything up to 600 meters, I'd say, fast with a couple of speed reps at the end as well, after you kind of buffered the lactic. Just because, I don't know, you feel like, usually by that time of summer, you feel in good shape, you feel like you're flying. It's a great feeling. But hardest track session, probably just everything you do over the winter. K reps, 800 reps, 30 by 200 meter reps off short recovery. I'll probably go with that one. Yeah, sessions of big reps of 200 meters off short recovery I hate, because I find it's just such a mental battle, because you get to like 5 in and your legs are dying and you have to run 200 meters off 25 seconds recovery. Just getting through that is just such a mental battle. So that's definitely one of the toughest ones. It says, if you were placed in charge of UK athletics tomorrow, what is the first thing you would change? Interesting question. I will preface this by saying I think UK athletics do a fantastic job of running the sport. I'm definitely incredibly grateful for everything they've done for me. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I had surgery in 2019 to fix a stomach issue that I had. And UK athletics, through their medical program, were hugely instrumental in diagnosing that and giving me the surgery and helping me get back fit. So I owe a lot of my career to UK athletics and the things they do. If I could change anything, I don't think I'd change anything. I'd probably say that, I think athletics is a great sport. I don't think it has the status it deserves amongst the sports of the world. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it remained an amateur sport for so long, and the switch to professionalism was slower than other sports. But I think we as a sport could do just a better job of kind of marketing it and bringing it to the masses and bringing it to TV, and just showcasing it, just upping the level of how we showcase the sport. I think, that's what I'd say. Next question is quite an easy one. What is your height and weight? I weigh just over 70 kilograms, just under on a good day. And I'm just under 6'1". Next question says, do you test your ferritin levels, and what level do you try to keep it at? I do test my ferritin levels. I don't have like a specific barometer of like a numerical value. The British Athletics doctors, we get blood tested whenever we need to. And to be honest, the blood tests come back. If it's a green, that means my levels are good. I don't usually check the numbers, so I couldn't tell you what numbers they're supposed to be. Next question is, what is your favorite 800 meter session? What 800 session do you really not like to do? Kind of similar to the previous question. Any session that's long, I hate. Any session that's short and fast, I love. So any kind of time trial with a few fast 200s or 150s off the end is a session that I'll really enjoy. Do you have any pre-race superstitions or routines? I love a good nap. Before I get to before I leave for the track, so I'll eat my last meal before racing. I'll go back up to my room and have a good old nap, get up, have a shower, and then it's as if it's a brand new day. And I get up, go to track and race. For me, having that nap, it calms my nerves. I talked about being nervous before, but you obviously can't be nervous while you're sleeping. Yeah, it's just nice to just switch off. So now have a nap. I usually sleep really well before any kind of race. And get up, have a shower, and go. That's kind of my routine, what I get up to. What does a typical training week look like for you? I would say I don't really have a typical training week. Obviously, it changes. Winter training is very different to summer training. And how my coach works is every week is kind of different. I mean, we have the main building blocks. So I do 2 gym sessions a week, 1 or more long runs a week, at least 1 track session a week. This is during the winter. Sometimes a hill session, often some tempo sessions, and then some runs and things in between. In the track season, so obviously we'll probably do 3 track sessions a week, a couple of gym sessions a week, and then some runs and things in between. But what I kind of like about my coach is there is no really typical training week. Everything is a little bit different. It keeps you on your toes. Stops you kind of getting bored by the same routine every week. So it's one of the reasons I like my coach. What percentage of aerobic work do you do, such as 10-mile steady state tempos, or do you just rely on pure natural speed? I mean, I do a lot of running over the winter. The longest runs I do at the moment is just an hour. Previously, I got up to doing 12 miles and things like that. But this winter, just running up to an hour. So that can be, depending on how my legs are feeling, that can be anything from 8.5 to 9.5-ish miles in that hour. So yeah, over winter, a lot of the work is aerobic. Over the summer, not so much, but it'd be hard to put a percentage on that. What particular session or sessions would you do that tell you what kind of shape you're in for the 800 meters? Great question. A couple of things. I'd say obviously time trials. Obviously the longer time trials are more specific to 800 meters. So 600 meter time trials, 700 meter time trials. They're great barometers of how fast you're going to run over 800 meters. But then also the sessions that are like split 800 meters or short recovery. So 400 meters, 30 seconds recovery, 400 meters. In the past, they've always been great indicators of what I'll run. Usually very similar to what I'll run on the track is what I'll run. If you add those 2 400 meters up, you'll get the kind of shape I'm in. So they're kind of the most similar. What is in a typical race day diet or night before a race? Race day, I do keep it quite simple. Obviously, it depends when the race is. We do a lot of evening races, but then in major champs, you have morning races as well. And often it's in hotels that I've never been to before. So you're kind of at the mercy of the hotel restaurant or anything like that. But I keep it simple rices, simple potatoes, simple meats, nothing too saucy, nothing too spicy. And then I love, what they're called, Nature Valley bars, honey and oat Nature Valley bars. I can't remember what they're called, but I always take a couple of those to races. So that's what I'll eat one of those kind of 2 hours before a race, maybe with a banana. So after lunch, I'll have lunch 3.5 hours before I race, maybe even 4 hours. Feel nice and full, let that digest, and then a couple of snacks, Nature Valley bar and a banana. Favorite cheat meal? Oof. I'm a big fan of fried chicken. I'm a big KFC fan. Fillet burgers is probably my. It sounds really dumb, but fillet burger is probably my favorite burger of all time. It's just the balance of the chicken, the mayonnaise, the lettuce, and the bread. For me, it just works. It just works. So I do love KFC. Also love just chicken wings as well. I have a favorite Morley's in Camberwell. I don't even live near Camberwell, but I'll travel down there to get some chicken wings because they're just that good. So that's kind of, once I finish the season, I always go out and get chicken wings, just because I don't eat them that much in the season, just because I'm trying to keep on weight. Thoughts on the New Balance spike lineup, the Fusel, LDX, and MDX? Great question. I actually race in the LDX. For those of you who don't know, kind of shoe technology has changed a lot in recent years. You've probably heard of the Nike Alpha Flies, Next Percent, whatever they're called, which Eliud Kipchoge used to break the 2-hour marathon. And so marathon records have been falling, long distance records have been falling, and a lot of that has to do with the shoes we're wearing. I actually think it's quite sad that so much of our performances now are down to what shoes we wear, and that it depends who you're contracted to as to what shoes you can get, and it kind of limits how fast you can run. I preferred it in the days where you could wear any shoes and still compete. But it is a fact of the sport right now that it does matter which shoes you wear. So New Balance have produced a few pairs of great shoes with a carbon plate and some special foam that work together to help you run faster. So the LDX is the long distance spikes, LD long distance, the MDX middle distance. There's also the SDX, which is the short distance one. And I actually race, even though I race a middle distance event, I've been racing in the SDX, which is the short distance spike. And for me, it works well. I ran PBs in them this year, but I was in better shape than I had been before. How much help they make? I think the longer distance you run, the more improvements you get out of the spikes. So 800s, I think you get some improvement, probably. I'm no scientist, so I can't tell you how much, but I like the spikes. I think they're really good. My son has lost form due to growing pains and is becoming frustrated with running because of this. Any tips for him on how to stay positive and focused? Appreciate that question. Yeah, I mean, growing pains are really annoying. I had a few growing pains when I was 12, 13 years old. Must have been in year 8. Real problems with my feet and getting pain through my knees and things like that. And it is really, really frustrating because you feel like you're not doing anything wrong. Like it's not your fault. You can't fix things. And I became very frustrated when I was a youngster. Yeah, I kind of dipped out of training for a while and really struggled. But the saving grace for me is that I knew that these pains were going to end at some point. And they're usually when you're young. And so it's literally just sticking them out, sticking through those pains and trusting that it will get better someday. And then if you can get through these pains, then you're going to be able to push on with your career and push on with things afterwards. So appreciate this question. I know it's tough for your son. I can feel his pain, definitely. But I definitely just encourage him to remember that these things are temporary. He doesn't have to smash out his training at this age. He's got loads of time. So just concentrate on enjoying it. And when those pains end, then you can crack on with training and get as good as you can at running. What motivates you when the going gets tough? How do you push yourself on when your body is rebelling? Great question. I do find it tough a lot. I admire the athletes that can just bomb it every session. But that's not me. I get demotivated every now and again. But for me, it's focusing on what I'm trying to do. So one, on the competitions I'm trying to get to. So now I'm trying to get to the Olympics, which is a great motivation for pushing when things get hard. Also for like what I want to achieve in life. And kind of coming back to my faith. One of the reasons I run is to help spread the message about Jesus and what he's done for me in my life. And I think what he can do for others in their lives too. And I think being great at athletics is a great platform to be able to spread that kind of a message. And so focusing on why I do what I do rather than what I'm doing is great for when things get tough. And then also for me, it's just to not live with any regrets. Because the worst thing is when you get to the track season and you feel like, oh, I should have pushed a bit harder in training. And so just remembering that in winter is something that helps me get through. And then last question, if you give one piece of advice to your younger self, just starting out in athletics, what would it be? Great final question. I just say enjoy it. When you're young, it's tempting to look up the power of 10 and figure out where you rank in and think about the athletes that are so much faster than you and realize that there's athletes that are 10 seconds quicker than you over 800 meters, which is a big amount. But just enjoy it, have fun, push yourself, but compete against yourself, not necessarily against everyone else all the time. And just, roll with it, have fun. And make great friendships, find a great team, and push yourself. Because, for those that are really successful when they're young, it will get tough for everyone at some point. So if you learn just to enjoy the sport and learn to enjoy running, then you'll go a lot further.